Wild mushroom risotto is a classic Italian dish, but I'm going to turn up the volume. Instead of just using chicken stock, I'm using white wine. It gives it a really nice edge. And instead of just using one kind of mushroom, I'm using two. I'm going to have these creminis, and I'm also doing dried morels. They have really intense flavor. First thing you need to do is just heat up the chicken stock. It's 1 quart of chicken stock. I always use homemade, but if you need to, you can always use canned chicken stock. So these are morels. I've taken 1 ounce of dried morels. It's the wildest kind of mushroom. It's amazing that somebody actually thought you could eat one of these, but they're delicious, really intensely flavored. And I soak them for 30 minutes in 2 cups of boiling water. Sometimes there's a little grittiness in the bottom, and you don't want the morels to get mixed up in that grittiness. So I'm just gonna lift them out. I'm just gonna sieve it right through just a regular coffee filter, so I can use the liquid in the risotto and not have any of that grittiness in it. So just strain it right through. Perfect. I'm just gonna give them a rough chop. So the little ones, I'm just gonna chop them a little bit, straight across. Big ones maybe more. So these are cremini. I'm just gonna take the stems off. They're a little tougher than the tops. And just brush the tops a little bit with a damp paper towel. Make sure that there's no dirt on them. What you don't want to do is wash them, because they just absorb all the water. Okay, big rough chop, just big slices. Okay, that's the mushrooms. Time to make the risotto. So what I did was I sauteed some onions and pancetta. It's that Italian bacon. It's fabulous. I'll show you what I did. I put 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter into the Dutch oven. And when it was melted, I added 2 ounces of diced pancetta, half a cup of chopped shallots, and then just let them saute for about 5 minutes. Next step, saute the mushrooms. I'm just gonna put them in the pot with the pancetta and shallots. Just saute them for about 5 minutes, just until they start to soften. This is the way they have the most flavor. Looks good already. Okay, next for the rice. We really do need arborio rice for this. Arborio really has sort of a starchiness that you need for risotto. Okay, 1.5 cups and a half. Fantastic. You can really find it in any grocery store now. And just give it a big stir so the rice is all coated in the butter. Okay, next is the wine. So I'm gonna use an all-purpose Pinot Grigio. It's a good dry white wine. And one of my rules is you always want to choose something to cook with that you're going to drink. Starting with, I'm only using half a cup, so you want to be able to drink the rest of the bottle. The wine really makes a huge difference in risotto. Of course, you can just do it with chicken stock, but the edge that comes from the wine is really important. So I'm just going to pour it in first. Everybody always asks me, what kind of wine do I drink? And the truth is, I'm really not an expert, so I always go to the experts. I've asked my friend Jacques Franey at Domaine Franey to help me out, and he gives me great advice.
Hi, Ina. Many recipes are looking for a specific wine, and it's great to use that wine. But if you're looking for a really good general red, I like a Côte d'Aron. Côte d'Aron is a region in France. The wines are rich, they're full-bodied, have a lot of flavor. And they're not very expensive. Now for white, it's a little harder to pick one specific white, but I like to use a Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is a grape variety. It's grown throughout the world. The wines are dry, light, and crisp. And again, not very expensive. An alternative to Sauvignon Blanc is Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio is a grape that is grown widely in Italy. And the wines, again, are very light styled, and easy drinking. Excellent for a risotto. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Jacques. I always take his advice. It's great advice. Okay, the next thing I need, remember the mushroom liquid that we got from the mushrooms? I'm gonna add a little water until it gets to be 2 cups. And it's great flavor, and I'm gonna add it to the chicken stock. So, I'm just gonna let that come up to a simmer. In the meantime, I'm gonna add saffron. Saffron's this really great spice, and it's the stamens of crocuses. Can you imagine that job? I'm gonna add about ½ a teaspoon of salt, ½ a teaspoon of pepper. This just smells fantastic. The mushrooms, and you can smell the shallots and pancetta. And as it continues, you can really smell the saffron too, that spiciness. I'm just gonna keep adding 2 ladles of stock every 5 to 10 minutes until the risotto's done. After 5 to 10 minutes, the liquid will have been absorbed into the rice, so add the next 2 ladles. Keep stirring it every few minutes and wait until it seems a little dry before adding more stock. Keep adding the stock 2 ladles at a time until the rice is completely cooked through, but still al dente. It'll take 25 to 30 minutes. Oh, this looks like such good risotto. And the key is that it's really creamy. It's not dry at all. Fantastic. Okay, one more thing to put in, Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna put in about 2/3 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I always grate it in the food processor. It's faster, and I like the texture of the graininess of it. Fantastic. Just stir that in. Classic risotto has saffron and Parmesan, chicken stock and wine. So good. But you can really put anything into it, and the wild mushrooms really enhance that. I have to make sure it's good now. This smells fantastic. And always a little more Parmesan cheese on the top. How Italian is that? Just gotta make sure it's delicious. I love wild mushrooms. So complex, the flavor. And I have to tell you, the wine makes all the difference in the world. It just gives it a really nice edge. This is one of my favorite meals ever.